Well, thanks, guys, so much. I am here with a very special family. Natalie and Dave are here. Natalie and Dave Heise from Hoka. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good. You know what? It's just been a pleasure in the last hour to get to know you guys and to get to meet you. We have had quite a lot of VIPs coming in to meet Justus already today. First of all, the Gunderson Lutheran Security Department. We got John up there right now.
Yay, John. Yay, John.
So John and Justus have a relationship
They do.
because Justus comes in to Gunderson
Yep,
frequently.
he does.
For a lot of things. How did the initial hookup with the security department and your son come around?
So, as one of the activities that the child life specialists do with Justice was a painting, and they wanted to do syringe painting. So they use the syringes from the hospital and then squirt them on a painting. And I think it was Barb, the play lady's idea to make a painting for security because it was kind of drab, she said, down there, and they didn't usually get to
so
be
they
part
needed,
of that.
They needed something.
Right. So Justice did that and was able to give it to John, and that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
I hear that. John, so when Justus comes into the clinic, he has clearance, he has security clearance, and he has security clearance, and he has a badge too. I think that's great. And the La Crosse Police Department came in and did a visit.
They did.
A second visit today, but
They
this was
did.
a really good visit. Came
Exactly.
in and gave him some wonderful gifts, and that's so special. Speaking of special, you have a special little guy.
We do.
Justus is 7 years old. Mom, you should be a writer.
Thanks.
Natalie, you should be a writer. You submitted a biography here today that took me through about 8 different emotions.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've known Justus for 7 years.
Good.
So nice job with that.
Thank you.
Can you give us an idea about what's happening? How did it start with Justus? How did your relationship and your family start?
So we are foster parents and have been foster parents for about 14 years. And we got a call one day from the social worker who said, "Hey, Natalie, are you doing anything this afternoon?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Want to go for a ride to get a 3-year-old with me?" And I said, "Of course I do." So I didn't really tell Dave. Usually we try to
didn't tell
communicate.
Dave, she didn't tell you?
Not tell me, no.
So it was a surprise.
Yes, it was.
Oh.
It was a surprise. But when he got home, I told him, here's his name used to be Joseph, and we changed it to Justus. But I said, here's a little boy named Joey. He's 3. And I remember specifically, these words have come back to me many, many times. I said, how hard can a 3-year-old be? Right, exactly.
And Dave, what were you thinking at the time?
I was thinking that, wow, what are we doing? He's a handful. He's a lot of joy, but he never stops.
Now,
He's very-
Justus is not your only child.
Correct.
Give us an idea of who lives under your roof.
So we have 6 children, 3 adult children, 2 of who live with us, and then a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and Justice. And then we also have 3 foster kids, one who's 11 and one who's 7 and one who's 6.
I can't imagine what laundry day and every mealtime is like.
Laundry day is every day, and every
Okay.
mealtime is a big production.
Okay. So now we have little 3-year-old Justus living at your house.
Yep.
Okay. Now what happens?
So he stole our hearts over the next 2 years. He was 5, and we had to make the decision as to whether or not the county had asked if we would think about adopting him, and we had to make that decision on whether or not we would make him an official member of our family. And that decision was difficult for us because we were old.
Older.
Older.
Old.
Er.
So you have little
Dave
kids
added
around.
Okay.
But we knew that we both knew that what would be best for him would be to be part of our family forever. So it came time to make the decision, and we decided that we would do that. And then he was officially a member of the Heise family on April 10th of 2014. And 7 years prior to that, our 12 and 11-year-old we had adopted. So it's kind of cool. They were all adopted on the same day.
It was a good day.
It was a great day.
Okay.
Very
So
much.
did Justus start with some health issues?
So so over the course of that summer, he always had a bellyache.
Okay.
But we just kind of dismissed it as trauma or adjustment, or he's just 5, because what 5-year-old doesn't have a stomach ache? But then it became in the fall. It got to the fall time, and I got a little bit more worried about just him not eating and just kind of being a little bit lethargic. So I took him to the doctor. And I feel like I felt pretty silly bringing him into the doctor for bellyache because we've had lots of kids and lots of kids with belly aches. But for some reason, that doctor did an x-ray. And he looked at the x-ray, he looked at Justus, and he said, yeah, I think this is an issue with going to the bathroom. So, but I'm going to have the radiologist look at the x-ray. But I do want you to go to a specialist. And so we said, okay. He looks at he gets the he looks at the x-ray.
There you go. Let's just call it like it is.
Right. He looks at the x-ray and they found a pinpoint white dot. Like it was very, very tiny. And he said, I think that this probably is a calcium deposit or something, but we're not sure if it's located inside or outside of his colon. So we go to the specialty doctor. He does some regimens. Justus gets better. He feels better. And he says, but I want to re-x-ray to make sure that that tiny spot is gone.
At that point, were you thinking, oh, good, that's reassuring. Let's double check
Yep.
it. Or is that what was happening?
Yep.
Okay.
The whole time, never did I think he was sick. I thought at the most maybe appendicitis,
Okay.
maybe, but
All right.
I really didn't think he was sick. And so they re-x-rayed it. It was still there, and because it was still there, he said, "Well, let's just do a CT scan."
Okay.
The CT scan was scheduled for December 17th of 2014. On December 16th, I got home from work. And I felt like he wasn't doing very well, that he kind of had a temperature, and he was kind of lethargic, and the specialist had said, make sure you bring him in if you think he's getting worse. And I felt like, well, I think he's kind of getting worse. So it was very interesting because that evening, we've been parents for over 30 years, and I've never asked Dave to come to the doctor with me. Not ever. But that night, after I decided that we were going to take him in, I went into the kitchen and I said, Dave, I really think you should go with me.
Dave, what was going through your head?
I was a little worried at that time because she doesn't normally ask me. With a lot of kids, we're at the hospital a lot. So I was worried. We went in together. And then the word came back that he had cancer.
After you, so you skipped ahead too much.
Oops.
You forgot some of the details. So I asked him to come with, and at that point I started getting emotional, and I still never thought anything was wrong with him. That was something from above that just made me get emotional. So we go to the doctor, we go in the ER, we wait for 2 hours, and one thing I'll never forget that Justus said to me as we're waiting in the ER to be seen, he said, Mom, isn't this super boring? And it was just clear as day to me even now, and I just kind of laughed. I said, yeah, it is. So we got in, got examined. They couldn't find anything wrong, but the ER doc said, let's just do the CT scan tonight. They started prepping him for the CT scan. He went in, went out, everything was fine. Justus was resting, and the ER doctor knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and the ER doctor was emotional. And I thought, oh, he must have had to tell someone some really awful news. Never once thinking it was me. And so he said, can you come out to the hall? Brought me to the hall, and he said, we know what's wrong with your son. He has cancer. And I said, no, he doesn't. And at this point, Dave had gone home because they were doing the CT scan. He had to get up at 4 in the morning. And I said, just go home. They're just doing this. We'll be home later, and you can go home. And so I'm in the hallway, and those memories then are very blurry to me now. I remember a nurse coming and saying, would you like to go into this room? And I said, yeah, let's do that. So after that happened, so they gave us the diagnosis, and when the ER doc gave us the diagnosis, he said, and the oncologist will be here to talk to you this evening. At this point, it was midnight, and that's when we met Dr. Jenna Roscoe, who became his oncologist, and laid out the plan of he's gonna be admitted tonight, he'll do surgery tomorrow, and followed by chemo and radiation. He has a Wilms tumor, which is a rare kidney cancer.
I just don't even understand how you could digest that news, thinking you're going in for a bellyache.
Right. It was very difficult. And I don't think I really ever digested it until that following summer.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know
think
how you could.
Nope, you just do what they say and you go where they say, and like processing all of that. He was adopted 8 months prior to that diagnosis. And I asked, when we had our big conference after he had been in the hospital a little bit, I asked the doctor, I said, has he had this the whole time, like since we adopted him? And she said, most likely he hadn't. So yeah.
At that point, surgery happened?
Yeah. Then surgery didn't happen until the 18th of December.
Okay.
They removed his kidney and got what they were hoping was all of the cancer.
Was it all of the cancer?
It was not. So they went in. They didn't stage it right away because they weren't sure if it was anywhere else in his abdomen cavity. And so what happened then? The surgery was supposed to be a 4-hour surgery. The surgery took 8 hours because there was a spot near his aorta that was calcified already, and the doctor was not able to remove that safely. And by this time, they had been in surgery for 8 hours. And just said, we will treat him with radiation, and that should take care of that spot.
Okay.
And so then
How was that 8 hours for you? I can't even imagine
it was
that
crazy.
either.
I was good until 5 hours.
Okay.
Then after that, I don't really remember a lot. Do you?
No, it was probably about five hours or so. Then that's kind of when I started really worrying about it a lot. The last few hours of that wait were really long.
How long did Justus stay in the hospital after that?
He was only in for 6 days total.
Okay.
Yep.
Only?
Mm-hmm.
Only 6 days?
Yep.
Life goes on. Did you go back to work during those 6 days?
Yeah, I went back to work. Right, right after that. Yeah.
Hard to concentrate on work, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been over the last couple of years. It's been pretty tough. Some days are better.
What happened next?
So then we started with he did 11 days of radiation where he had to be put under because he couldn't stay still long enough for them to radiate the area. So he was put under and then went home every day, and we came back every day for radiation for 11 days. And in that time we started chemotherapy, which was outpatient. So it was 28 weeks of chemotherapy. I think we were on one. I don't remember. I think we were on one, off one, or something like that. But he did most of that in the hospital. And he never had to go back into the hospital to be admitted for anything else, which the doctors had told us could be pretty likely. And he only missed 35 days of kindergarten.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah.
He's in 2nd grade now.
He is.
And I don't want to skip ahead. Did life get a little normal for a while?
Well, I don't think that our life will ever be normal
Well,
again.
a little more than what you've been through.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then he did get to start school in 1st grade and went through 1st grade without any issues until a couple of weeks before 1st grade got out. But yeah, I mean, I feel like for our family, it was just an adjustment, another thing that we were adjusting to. And I felt like after that diagnosis, our lives had ended up until that diagnosis. And now that we have this new diagnosis, we're not the same, and we'll never be the same again. And so, trying to figure out what that meant, he does amazing. He did really, really well. And I don't feel like he takes what he needs to take and just does that, and that helps us see that. But it's also, I knew that at that point, I was not going to let cancer define me or our family, and I wanted to keep everything as normal as I could. And just do the things that we would do normally in the summer, even though we had a boy who wasn't able to always do those, but not to take away from what our other kids were experiencing as well as him.
How was your summer, this past summer?
My summer was really difficult. Like I said earlier, I believe that's when I kind of hit a wall and just started to feel what had gone on for the last 6 months, and really dragging myself out of bed was the condition that I was in. But thankful that we had other kids, or I wouldn't have gotten out of bed. I would have just stayed in bed.
Your kids are your support.
They are. They are.
Reversal of roles.
Exactly. They are.
The phones are ringing.
Yeah, I heard that.
So Justus was scheduled to have some surgery.
He was.
What's going on? I
Yeah.
see he's here. He's not having surgery.
No, he's not. So,
Yeah.
In May, on May 16th of 2016, he was re-diagnosed with the spot that they had to leave in his abdomen was growing, and so they call that a relapse. And so the treatment plan for that was to do 4 rounds of chemo this summer inpatient, so 5 or 6 days in the hospital, 3 weeks off, and then another 5 or 6 days in, and then a couple of other rounds that were 3 or 4 days. So we did that, anticipating that he would have surgery at University of Madison on October 13th. The surgery was scheduled. We were on our way there to remove that spot, and on the way there, the surgery got canceled.
Why did the surgery get canceled?
We don't really even know fully yet, but what happened was there were some other doctors that were a part of a meeting they had that morning that felt that the surgery was too risky and wouldn't benefit him enough.
Okay. So now you're waiting?
Yep, we're waiting. So he just was in the hospital this past week for his first round of chemo. Since that surgery had been canceled, we'll do another round in 3 weeks, and in between now and the time that we start chemo the next time, they're wanting us. We're going to go to University of Madison or University of Minnesota for a second opinion.
Through this whole thing, you're traveling, you're going around, you're running back and forth. Children's Miracle Network hospitals. How did they? Did you know about them before this started? Did you guys know about the organization before Justus came into your life?
Not much.
Okay.
Like, I think we've been here when it had been set up before and
Okay.
knew that it was a good organization, but that's it.
How did they connect with you?
So the first connections that we had with Children's Miracle Network this time were meal vouchers. So when we were at the clinic all day,
Oh, sure.
we got meal vouchers. When we were in the hospital, we got meal vouchers, which was so huge. And like Justus's favorite place to eat up until this year has been the hospital cafeteria.
Really?
Yes.
What's his favorite entree?
Meatloaf.
He loves the meatloaf.
Yep.
Good
You know.
choice. So the help that they give you, and some people may say, "Oh, it's just a meal." It's more than that. Are you guys taking care of yourself? Or are you thinking about Justus?
We are not taking care of ourselves. And I remember specifically when we were in the hospital saying, I don't know what to eat. Like, people would say, I'll get you anything. What do you want to eat? I would always just say, I don't know what to eat. But that was huge in taking care of us because you don't take care of. I mean, that was the one thing that I learned through this cancer journey is that I don't do that very well at all, take care of myself. But them being there and being a safety net and just knowing that, and I feel like too, if we needed anything, that they would be there to help us, no matter what it was, whatever we needed, I feel like they would be there. And that, knowing that you have someone that you can call and ask something that's crazy, you think is crazy, and they're not going to say, oh my goodness, that's crazy. They're going to say, we'll do what we can. And that's amazing.
Was it hard to take that first step, accepting help? Was that tough?
I have a real issue with
It was kind
that.
of hard for me, and I don't really know why, but everyone has been good. We've got so much help from the staff at Gunderson and family, friends, church people. There's just a lot of support, so that kind of keeps me going.
The help is very hard. I feel like it's very hard to accept. But when it's just there, then you just take it. Like if you don't have to talk to them or ask them, and it's just there, then you take it. And it's super helpful.
Today when I met Justus for the first time, until you pulled his pant leg up, I didn't realize he's running around with a broken leg.
Yep, he has a broken leg.
I see that, but I had no idea when he flew by me in the hallway that he had a cast from his bottom of his foot up his leg. What happened with the broken leg?
So he had been back at school after his last round of chemotherapy. In the summer, it was cleared that he could go to school. So he was at school playing on the monkey bars and fell off and broke his leg.
I bet when the phone rings, you just break into a sweat.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I bet you do. What else can we add about the Justus story? To be continued.
Yeah. Right. Right.
To be continued.
Yep.
You guys are amazing. You're
Thank you.
wonderful parents. And I met some of your family.
Yes. Yep.
I wish I could have met all of your family. You guys have a busy, loving household. And I can see how you fit in so well with the Children's Miracle Network Hospital. I can see how you
Yeah.
fit in.
Yeah.
Dave, you want to add something in closing? I don't want to close. I just have had the best time talking with you guys.
Again, I guess just kind of what's been amazing for me is I've always never really considered the healthcare as a benefit or something that I've really ever thought about. But since this has happened, I've realized how lucky we really are to be so close to such good care, and the people here. And
You're probably about 10 minutes away.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's huge. But it's just been a blessing to have so many quality care people so close.
That's been the one thing as I reflected back after his first diagnosis and was thinking about like where was I when I was at my best, or where was I when I had the most peace, and it was here at the hospital. And like that seems so weird to say, but the people, the support, like we are so blessed to live in a place that we have such amazing care right here. And every time we have to go somewhere else, I ask if our team can go with.
That is amazing.
It is amazing. We are very, very lucky to have the care
We have about
here.
19, 20 minutes left of the Radiothon. Sitting at home, Saturday afternoon, the sun's out, it's over 60 degrees, thinking, I've listened to these stories for 3 days. Should I pick up the phone and make a pledge, or shouldn't I? What would you say to them?
I would say for sure do that. And you never know when you're going to need it. Like I never thought I would be sitting in this chair talking to anybody about a cancer story. And like to be able to provide help for families that need it in a medical sort of situation, like to me there's nothing more important than helping in a child's life. And that's why we do foster care. And I said on the way to get Justus to our social worker that day in 2012 that what's more important than investing in the life of a child? There is none. I don't think.
The Heise family, that is how we're going to close out this interview area for the 2016 Children's Miracle Network Radiothon. This is a service of the La Crosse Radio Group.